Hello, my beautiful bookish friends, and welcome back to my channel. I am bringing back the full glam for the book videos because why not, right? Today I'm doing a January wrap-up, and I am bringing back wrap-ups in 2024 because I have a new outlook on them. And this is partially because of a viral video of, I don't know if she's an author or a book reviewer, who said basically every book that's published, automatic 3 stars, regardless of how good, bad, indifferent you feel about it. I do not feel that way about books, and a lot of people very quickly were like, no, like I want to know if a book is genuinely good, if it is a 3-star, a 4-star, 5-star, whatever. So I want to start giving more unapologetic wrap-ups and reviews because in the past I've been afraid of like backlash of people saying like that was too harsh or whatever, and I feel like it's not as authentic of a review as I could give. So we're gonna be doing that. So if you don't, it's not necessarily gonna be negative reviews, they're just gonna be very honest. If it's a good book, I'll sing its high praises. If I did not think it was a good book, I will not. And just because I don't think it's a good book doesn't mean that it's not a good book. It just means it's not for me. So let's get that out of the way first. But I have, and this is a ridiculous number, 18 books to talk about. Yeah, January was a very big reading month, mostly because I read some graphic novels, I read some children's books, obviously some of these were audio. Some of these things are not traditional, literature, like, hardcover book. So, just putting that out there, this is not a normal amount to read. This is not something that I suggest people strive for. I did have a good 2 weeks of, not having very good mental stability or whatever you want to call it. Mentally did not feel very good. So, reading was also escapism. So, that all being said, let's get started with the first book I read this year, which was Heartstopper, Volume 5 by Alice Oseman. I love this series so very much. This is the 5th volume in what used to be a webtoon, and now it's traditionally published. We're following Nick and Charlie. If you haven't read the series, Nick and Charlie are in high school. They are, in the first one, they're, crushing on each other, trying to navigate that. In this one, they are in a full-blown relationship. So, if you haven't read the other ones, just skip forward a little bit. But at this point, Nick is starting to look at his options for college. Charlie is still dealing with his eating disorder and, his recovery and, trying to get his parents to understand that just because he's mentally ill doesn't mean he shouldn't be allowed to go do things. There's just a lot of issues in it, and I love the way they were all addressed. I think it took them on in a way that young adults can understand and wasn't overly triggering, but also spoke very candidly, and in a way that, obviously evokes emotion and makes you feel seen and heard if you've dealt with any of these issues. Also, before we get too far into the wrap-up, I wanted to make a note of what my reading goals are. So I want to try and read 85 books this year. But in doing that, I'm trying to buy less books. So I made 4 rules for myself, and I have to meet at least one of them before I can buy books. So one of them is read 50 books. Read a whole, haul's worth of books. So whatever, my haul videos from last year, I have to look at my spreadsheet that has them all listed and finish a whole video's worth of books. So whatever ones I talked about in any one of those haul videos, I have to finish a whole haul's worth of books before I can buy more books. I'm not on a book buying ban. There's just stipulations. So during my wrap-up videos per month, I'm going to put how much money I spent on books each month, because I want to be really transparent about that, because I do get a lot of books for no money because my mom reads too and she just gives me her books, and my book of the month subscription is a gift. And so anything like that, I just want to be transparent about. So I'm going to put how much money I spent on books this month at the end of each video, and how much money I made selling books on Pango at the end of each month. Not sponsored or anything, but I just want to show, not only for me, but for you guys, so you know how much money I'm actually spending on books and stuff. And that's holding me accountable too, because I spent so much on books last year. That was just a little side note. But the second book I read was the Nightmare Before Christmas manga. This one I gave 4.5 stars because it did get, I've never read manga before, so I had to teach myself like which direction to read things. But I really, this is just the plot of the movie. But they used the song lyrics and turned it into dialogue in here, which I thought was very creative. And I read this like the first day of the year, so it was very like still in the Christmas spirit. So if you're a spooky or not Haunted Mansion, Nightmare Before Christmas fan, I recommend this book. The next one is one of the children's books. I don't rate these, but I'm just going to put that I put it in here. I read this Geronimo Stilton. It's the Mouse Island Marathon. It's cute. This one actually had some representation in it for people who have different mobility disabilities and stuff. So that was refreshing, because these books came out in 2007, and there's not, always rep in things from 2007. The next one was one of my most anticipated books, and I was slightly disappointed by it just because for me the pacing was off. But that is The Gentleman's Gambit by Evie Dunmore. This was the last book in the series of the Extraordinary League of Women books. This was number 4, so all of these are out now if you're someone who's wanted to read them. Compared to, what was the last one? Portrait of a Scotsman, I was in love with. This one, I liked, but I didn't love. The male main character, I just didn't, I don't know, for some reason didn't vibe. It didn't click for me for some reason. I don't know if it's because I listened to it on audio and the narrator just didn't do it for me. I'm not sure. But chess was like a very small part of the book. It was like the start of their relationship, kind of like how they would rendezvous, like they would play chess together. But for me, it wasn't a big enough part of it for it to become like the title. And unlike the other books, so much of this was so drawn out, and the historical, where the other ones where the historical elements were mixed in, this one was like 5 full chapters would be about historical things going on and not be integrated into the story. So it felt like we were being pulled out and thrown back in and pulled out and thrown back in. So I gave this 3.5 stars. But maybe if I read it physically, I'd like it, but I'm not sure. I don't know. I still liked it, just wish I liked it more. I have Wonder Woman Tempest Tossed. This is one of DC Inc.'s graphic novels. This is Wonder Woman, but she's younger, and instead of saving the world, she gets tossed into New York and ends up helping people who are unhoused and kids who are going hungry and trying to help people who are in a really tough situation, but a corporation tries to stop them. It's a very deep, kind of dark story. Got very, like, it's a socio-political kind of thriller on like a really like YA level. 4.5 stars. I thought it was a really amazing book, especially for teens who are interested in social issues. It showed how you can make a difference, how to fight back, and then also added that superhero element, so it was a little bit dramatic. The next book I don't have anymore because I have given it away to a friend. It was This Spells Love, and it is a time travel, parallel universe, witchy tale. So 45 pages, maybe, of this book was witchy. The main thing was like the aunt owned a metaphysical store and had all these books, and then there was this one book that basically took them to a parallel universe because the main character wanted to live in a world where she never met her ex. So, great premise, but it messed up her friendship with her best friend and all this different stuff. That was it. The parallel universe stuff happened so fast and became such a non-issue so quickly that I stopped caring, but I wanted to see if it got better, and it didn't. I would say the main character was very entitled. She was very agitating and, like, just, I don't know, seems very childish, I guess, for the emotions that we were supposed to be feeling in the book. And we have to stop pitching every book that has a little bit of witchcraft in it as practical magic, because this was not that. Okay? Yes, a margarita was involved, but it was not midnight margaritas and making stuff float. Like, stop using practical magic as your basis for a witch story if it's not 3 witches actively doing witchcraft, making stuff float, making, you know, magic happen. And, like, yes, I guess the spell was supposed to be it, but it became so mundane after that, it was like an afterthought. So that was a 3-star and an unhaul for me on The Spells Love. Next, I read The Winter Soldier Complete Collection and gave it 5 stars. This is the first complete collection, I believe. This is Winter Soldier 1 through 14. So it is a full storyline. It's like a full, we get like a little bit of backstory because there's a Captain America comic included to kind of give you an introduction, and then full into Winter Soldier. This is not the collection I thought it was. This doesn't include like Alpine and that stuff. I think that's the the Falcon and Winter Soldier series. So that's my bad for picking up the wrong one. But I really, really enjoyed this. Ed Brubaker is an extremely well-known comic writer. So getting to read some of his work, especially with one of my favorite comic characters ever, was super awesome. But the romance with Natasha and Black Widow and everything is very prevalent in here if you are interested in that. So that was 5 stars, I think I said. Then I did a reread of The Ravens. This is one that I read before and was like one of my favorite books of the year. It is an actual witchy book about witches who are in a coven who pose as sorority. And I mean, they are a sorority, but they're like a coven first, a sorority second. I liked this the second time I read it more because I felt, obviously I knew the end, so I felt differently about the characters going in. I didn't hate Scarlet as much. I really enjoyed Vivi's character and her mom. So I thoroughly enjoyed this one and gave it, I believe, 4 stars. Sorry, I gave it 5 stars because this time when I read it, the pacing was better. And maybe it's just because I knew it was coming next. I wasn't as anxious to get to the next part, but I really felt like I understood it more, liked it more, and maybe it was just because I read a disappointing witchy read before this. But I read another Geronimo Stilton. This is The Mysterious Cheese Thief. Again, didn't rank that, just mentioning it. And then I read The House Across the Lake, and we're gonna have a talk about The House Across the Lake. Everybody told me this book is so good, it's so amazing, it's wonderful, it's the best book I read of the year. No. I enjoy Riley Sager. Although I did not enjoy Final Girls, which a lot of people say you won't because that's his first book and everything gets better. But with The House Across the Lake being his most recent release, I was kind of like, okay, we're going to get like this Rear Window sort of vibe. And it was that a little bit. It's even mentioned in the book. We have this unreliable narrator who's like now openly an alcoholic, and you know, there's these weird people who live around the lake and whatever, and then there's disappearance and a potential murder and all the things were there. I don't want to spoil it, but the twist didn't need to happen. yeah, there needed to be some kind of a twist. It didn't need to be that. Adding the twist that was there made the whole first 300 pages, I didn't care anymore. As soon as I got to the twist, I went, no, we didn't need that. Why? And then I stopped caring about what happened the rest of the book. I have unhauled this book and sold it to someone else. I hope they enjoy it. So I don't understand why every woman in a Riley Sager book has to have this deep-seated trauma. Like, I understood for Final Girls, it made sense. Home Before Dark I really liked, and that seemed a little bit less grotesque on terms of trauma. This other one, it kind of felt like, okay, again, a woman is in a bad situation. Like, why can't we write about a man in a bad situation? Just my thoughts. And I know Lock Every Door is that too, and it's making me very apprehensive to read it. Then, because I was going to slump hard after that dumpster fire of a book, read another Geronimo Stilton. This was like a dinosaur one. It was cute. Moving on. Then, I needed a romance that I've already read, so I knew I would like it. And I reread Moonshot, which is the simultaneously most ridiculous and drawn-out romance I've ever read, but I'm obsessed with it. This is, you know, when people say like, oh, I like a book, but that doesn't mean it's good. This is her for me, right here. Moonshot. I thoroughly enjoyed this book. I think it's so good. Well, it's not good, but it's good, you know? Like, if you want something dramatic and juicy and ridiculous, this is the book for you. So if you haven't heard me talk about this before, this is about a coach's daughter, and it's a convoluted start to the book, for sure. Like, her mom dies, she starts traveling with the team, becomes their ball girl, back girl, whatever. That would not happen in real life. However, she travels with them. This hotshot rookie who's got a bad reputation comes in. They start a little fling. I forgot how young she is in the book. She's 17 in the book, and he's like 22. Which, again, we don't condone outside of books. Even in here, I was like, ooh, I forgot about that part. But yeah. It spirals. They end up like breaking up after they have this kind of like little affair. Of course, it starts right when she turns 18. And the second chance romance, there's a lot of years in between when things happen. So yeah, it's just, and it's a suspense romance because there's murders going on in this book. There is a serial killer involved. So that adds a level of suspense, but it's in the background, and then it comes up, and then it's not good, but it's good, if that makes sense. So I gave it 4 stars. Just, it's ridiculous and crazy, but I love it. It's like reality TV. So then I read The Monarchs, which is the second book in the Raven series. It's the end of the duology. And I did not like this one as much as the Ravens. It was like, you know, someone new's coming after them. There's witch hunters afoot. The way it made it sound when people were talking about it was like the moms get involved and like the old sorority and people from the coven come back to help them because they can't handle it on their own. It's too big of a threat. That kind of doesn't happen. So it took away a little bit and just kind of felt like we were telling the same story again with a slightly bigger villain. And again, I saw the kind of twist coming from like a mile away, so that kind of took away from my enjoyment. So I did unhaul this one as well. 3-star for me. It's hard to talk about that one without spoiling the other one, so I'll just say it just didn't meet my expectations and felt a bit repetitive. Then Hello Stranger. So Hello Stranger is unhauled as well, and the only DNF I have, and basically cemented that Catherine Center and I are no longer compatible. I read Things You Save in a Fire and really loved it. Read The Bodyguard, it was okay. Started this book and was like, can't do this anymore. In the same vein as Riley Sager, Catherine sent her every single one of her female characters who lead every single one of her stories has to have either a terrible relationship with their mother, the mother is dead, the mother is dying, like something is always happening with the parents, or there's a deep-seated trauma, or something crazy happens to the character. Like, no one can ever just be like happy. And I don't think every book needs to have like happy characters who have nothing wrong with them, but it's also just becomes like, we never get down to the brass tacks of why they're unhappy until a man comes along, and then they're happy. So I read like 115 pages of Hello Stranger. The main character ends up with face blindness, and she's a portrait artist, so obviously it has an effect on her entire life. However, I just stopped caring after a while. After 100 pages, I still didn't care what happened to her. So then after that one, again, felt slumpy, read Geronimo Stilton. Then I read The Score, which is Elle Kennedy, who we love. I don't have it with me because I actually sold all 3 of my books in the off-campus series, only because I want to buy the new one, the ones with the new covers and the spines that look like little jerseys. I really like those. It is with Dean. And Dean is the one in the other books that is like the player. Like, he, different girl. He's kind of got this like voyeur fetish. Like, he likes to be watched. Or likes being in public or potentially being caught when he's having his romantic escapades, we'll call it. But he gets involved with Allie, who is Hannah from the first book's roommate. And he in this book is so unapologetic, which I think Allie needs. Like, I definitely liked that. Like, she was talking to him about different things she felt, and he's like, no one's putting that on you except yourself. Like, you're using those words to describe you. No one else is doing that. You need to remove those words from your vocabulary. And I was like, yes, I love this. Like, he was like, stop caring about what other people think because it doesn't matter. Like, all of that was so refreshing, especially in like a sports romance where sometimes things lead a little bit misogynistic. That he was just very like, girl, do what you want, you know? But seeing him comfort her and them go from like these very opposites to like this odd friendship dynamic where it's like 100% open, there's no reason to lie to each other, but also then they start hooking up, but then it's not like a big deal, and then the feelings bloom, and how do you deal with that? And I eat that shit up. So I loved it. I think it ended up being like a 4-star, but like it could have been a 5-star. But it was super good. I loved the growth of Dean too. I think he did the most growth out of any of the characters. And in this one, his parents were like awesome, and her dad is chronically ill, and they talked about that, like the responsibility of being a good kid because your parent can't take care of himself kind of thing. I liked that mention as well. Last 2 books I'm currently in the middle of. I'm reading The Odd Sisters, which is the next one in the Serena Valentino series that I haven't read yet. It's a little slow going so far, but I'm hoping to finish it tonight or tomorrow. And then I am literally like 50% like in the middle of The Brothers Hawthorne, and this one's starting to pick up. I wasn't sure if I would like it at the beginning, but now it is really starting to pick up, and we're getting into like the different games. This one follows mostly the brothers. The other characters are still in it. But we're getting into like the aftermath of the final gambit, which is great. I thought this was a prequel. It's actually a sequel in this series, which I think I like more, but we're mainly following Grayson and Jameson, which who doesn't want to follow them? So that's it. Those are all the books I read. This is how much money I spent this month, a whopping $0. And this is how much money I made this month on Pango. And as always, my Pango's down below if you guys want to check out the books I have on there. So, If you guys enjoyed my more unapologetic reviews, let me know. And if you want me to be nicey nice again, like, I guess I can go back to doing that, but I really don't want to. So that's it for me. I hope you guys enjoy, and I'll see you in the next one.